Hi and welcome to a new video from Railroads of Old. I'm Benjamin and today's topic is building a town scene from the Old West, cityscape you could call it, one side of the main road of one of those many towns that grew up emerged in the western US in the late 19th century. The idea is to build a sort of generic street that can be used in a time period from, let's say, around 1880 and until the 1920s, so you can both use teams of mules and horses and riders, but also early automobiles like this wonderful little Ford T model. Most of the buildings on the town scene are old German models, Kibri models, built by the German company Kibri, which made these models in, I believe, in the 1960s or 70s. Western movies were particularly popular in the old East Germany, so I believe they were made especially for that market. But you can still buy them. As you can see, I bought them 10 years ago or so, and they are rather crude by today's standard compared to the wonderful wooden craftsman kit you can buy today, but they are very inexpensive and they are easy to build, and it's my argument that with a bit of care you can actually build them into rather nice model. Here's one of them I painted, gave a new roof of shingles from, I believe, from Wild West models, a new chimney, and I'll add some more signs and a bit of a sort of hinted interior and a bit more, and I think it can work out okay in the end. Here's another building that I painted to resemble wood and gave a new roof as well, and I think it really adds up. And once it's placed on the street with a lot of some decorations and some more signs, I think it'll work out quite okay. There's another building here from under construction, made by Wild West models. Quite a nice little kit, very easy to build, and gives a great view of one of these little houses being built. At the end of the street, I intend to add sort of an incline, the livery stable over here lying at the lowest point, and then the scenery going up to the top where the hotel will be located. I saw a wonderful image of a hotel lying pretty much in the middle of nowhere called the Bright View Hotel and Halfway House. And I think I'll call this the same and make sure it's a bit higher up than the rest, so it has a bit of a view. Originally a red plastic building, but I'm giving it a bit more color to differentiate it a bit from the many Kibri buildings that has been built in the last 50 years, more or less. But as you can see, a few buildings still need some more details and some changed signs in order to make it appear a bit different. But I found a piece of plywood, a bit bent, so I have to add some supports, but that'll be the foundation for the street. We'll probably going something like this on the incline, but let's get building. Even though I had built quite a few of the houses earlier, there was still a few to go. One of them was this green barbershop that I gave a coat of brown paint. This was burnt umber, very brown, very rich brown. I should have perhaps picked something lighter. So I ended up dry brushing it with a gray color and a yellow earth and some gray umber as well, in order to make a little play in the colors and liven it up. And in the end I gave it a coat of this wonderful fluid acrylic earth shade from Citadel Colors, which works really well in enhancing the details. It's still a bit wet, as you can see, a bit glossy, but in the end I think it'll look pretty good. The windows, plastic windows, were originally white, but I gave them a bit of titanium buff in order to tone down the white color, and I think eventually it'll look pretty good. I probably need a bit of a brown wash as well to look a bit older, and the same with the doors that I've on the way painting. And there's a little side building I'll probably place somewhere in the back with a bit of a strip of fence or something, but I'm on the right track, I think. The largest building on the layout or diorama will be this hotel. I call it the Brightview Hotel after a wonderful picture I saw from the 1870s or 80s. It's a two-story building, and it even has a staircase on its side. The original model is red, but I've seen several pictures where the facade is painted in usually a bright color, a light color, and then the side and the rear are just plain wood, so I intend to just paint it as weathered wood as well. The shingles from Wild West models are very nice to work with. It's actually strips of, I believe, laser cut paper. So you just have to cut the edges, and then you end up with these strips. And if you measure, then you measure each layer to get an idea of how big it should be in order not to waste too much material. And then you simply glue on every layer overlapping the last one. It's pretty quick. As you can see on the roof here, it does provide a very nice both color and texture. Here we are. Here we are. Very nice 3D effect. I chose to keep some of the structure here on the original old plastic roof in order to give them a little more sort of 3D effect. Probably should have painted the green under roof first, but oh well. And then when it's completely dry, I just simply cut off over here, and then a nice shingled roof for the little wash house. One of the first Kibri buildings that I assembled was this Pioneer Saloon, and it somehow annoys me. It looks a bit too unrealistic with this high false front. It looks like something out of a Disney World or an old Western movie, because I noticed by looking at pictures from real old West towns with a lot of false front buildings, the false front rarely goes above the top line of the roof, which I think makes great sense if you have a really high false front like this. It would require a lot of support to be stable in high winds. So I think I'll cut this down and see what it does for this building that does seem a little too Disney-like for my taste. Oh, my Western town needed a stable foundation, so I found a piece of plywood. It was a bit bent, so I reinforced it with some pine that I glued and screwed on, and then I added some polystyrene on top. I really like that material. It's very easy to carve in order to, like I'm doing here, make a little incline and also add a bit of a curve, a little hill on the front, which makes it easy when you're photographing to get more of the village to fill the frame. So the idea is that here the finished buildings will be first the stable, like this, something like this, then the washing and ironing building right there, and the doctor or whatever this building will be next to it, and the new building on the way will be like this. And then in order to sort of level the incline a bit, I'll add some cork, another wonderful material that I really like to work with, and then the saloon like this, perhaps a little path in between, and then the Fairview Hotel on top of the hill with a staircase going down here. And then I'll have to connect all these wooden boards with a little outhouse out here. It'll go on the back. I think that'll be an interesting diorama to work with and detail. Both the front, where there'll be room for early automobiles and horse carriages and more, perhaps another little module in front with a railroad station, train station, depot, and then on the back as well, where it might be a good background for photos as well as a backdrop for photographs. So I'll add some yards and some trees and some dirt and more. But so far only the hotel needs some more attention before it's ready. Still needs some sort of something inside blocking it, and needs a staircase on this side, and the balcony needs to be finished, and then of course all the signs. But now the little village, little town has a stable foundation, and that's a great start, I think. To create the street of my little boomtown, I created a mix of plaster, some grey-brown paint and some water. It has the advantage of smoothing the surface very well, covering any gaps, and it's also easy once it has dried a bit to shape the mud to resemble wagon tracks in the mud of the street. I wanted the somewhat old boomtown to have a bit of an overgrown look, so I used some thinned paint and glue and applied it in patches to the ground cover, which is basically sand and real sifted dirt. And then I used my electrostatic device to apply a mix of grasses. I prefer to use a lot of yellow grass, a bit of green, muted colors that provides a more realistic look, I think. And sometimes in the shades of buildings and others, I use a deeper green to provide shade. Then I used my vacuum cleaner on a sort of medium setting in order to shape the grass and remove surplus grass straws. And then I finally straightened the grass on the edge with my fingers. And then I applied a bit more sand and flocking materials on top of the grass and the still wet glue. I think it sort of situates the grass better and provides a bit more variation in the way it looks. The final results of the layers of ground cover and grass and foliage and flock. I think the important part here is to provide some variation, just like the real world, to give a more realistic look. I probably spent as much time studying old photographs of the real American West, the boomtowns of the late 19th century, early 20th century, as I did building the diorama. I prefer to be inspired by photos of the real world, and it also helps me to decide what kind of signs to put on. The cityscape of that time was very detailed, with a lot of signs, a lot of text, messages everywhere. So I think that's important, trying to recreate a cityscape or townscape of old. So all the signs here are inspired by real examples with similar font and look, and I think it adds a lot. I designed them on my PC, and after printing them out on normal paper, I weathered it with some weathering powder to give it a bit of a dusty old look. So I'm calling the diorama done for now. A few more details might need to be added. I haven't glued on most of the persons and cars and carriages and whatever. I prefer to keep them loose in order to create new scenes as I see fit. So perhaps there are new opportunities for new images will come along. Thank you for watching this video of building this diorama. I hope you enjoyed what you saw. If so, please give the video a like and perhaps press subscribe in order to receive new updates when new videos are done here at Railroads of Old. Thank you for watching.